Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Beyond the Broomstick, the podcast that brings you the opportunities and possibilities that spirituality can bring into your everyday life, whilst removing some of the woo-woo that we see on social media. Welcome. Yes, I did miss last week. I ran out of energy. I'm not going to lie, I had to miss a week of the podcast. There was a lot going on. The solar storm hit me. I was trying to update some stuff over on Patreon, and I just had to make a decision by the middle of the week that the podcast just wasn't going to happen. For those of you that are new here, my name is Matilda. I am a professional psychic medium here in Australia. I've been practicing well over 20 years, and I absolutely love what I do, bringing peace to families, teaching about various aspects of spirituality, and of course, this podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about community energy, collective energy, the law of attraction, and how you can flip the negative into positive, and how it really does have a positive effect on your day-to-day living. This is the big thing. A lot of people choose to be negative without realizing that that is the pattern they have gotten into. So we're going to be talking about all of those things. I'm going to make some predictions at the end of the podcast, as I always do. And we're going to be just reading some of my reviews, because sometimes it's nice to highlight the difference that I have made in people's lives, because that's what I enjoy doing. First of all, though, I'm going to give a shout out to all of my amazing new paid Patreon members. I'm going to talk a little bit about Patreon after I've given the shout out. So Diane L, Laurie Master 3000 or Lawmaster 3000, Jackie, Cara de Mayo Polt, Claire, Nikki, Michelle Felix, Gals Have No Name, Claire Lane, Heather, Cindy Kohler, Christy Howard, Emily Andres, Natalija. I'm sure it is a beautiful name, and it is said much more beautifully than my colloquial Australian accent, and I humbly apologise to you. Mia, Lucy B, Anita, Kerry, Elizabeth Back, Tam, Isabel, Candace Morrill, Ebony, Michelle Hall, Lisa Crowter White, Sharon Rawson, Hannah, Lacey S, Tara Thorne, Cara, F, B, Kisi, Shindani Khan, Maz, Christy, Barb J, Deanne Taylor. Thank you. You guys rock. I love having so many supporters. You build my... you give me faith in what I do, and you make it possible to do things like this, my podcast. But let's talk about my Patreon, because if you don't know about Patreon, it is a platform that allows me a lot more freedom to upload different topics, different podcasts, depending on the level that you join. And there's a lot of content on there, so check it out. The link is in my show notes. I've been making a few changes to it lately. One of those changes is that I am, at the end of the month, deleting the Discord, which is a benefit of membership. It's a private Discord just for us guys, and nobody was using it. So I've brought those chats back into Patreon, and if anyone has any other chat groups that they would like, they can let me know. But I've brought it back into Patreon because people were getting confused. They didn't know how to use Discord. Look, Discord is a messy channel, and if you don't know your way around it, it can be really tricky. So I have set up chats in the Patreon, and you know what? Since I've done that, there's been more action in the last 4 or 5 days in the chats in Patreon than there has been in my Discord over the whole time I've had it. So keep going. Let me know if there's any topics or chat rooms you want me to open up for you. And the other big change for my Patreon is the highest tier, which is the metaphysical mavens, has been changed, and it is now a professional development tier for those working in the metaphysical space. So mediums, tarot card readers, astrologers. I know that Laurie Rivers has her astrology professional development, so I never want to take away from that. It's about business building. It's about getting together. There's going to be monthly chats. We're going to have a monthly Zoom event that we're all part of, just to help ourselves. Things like dealing with difficult clients, dealing with our own ability to switch off, some tips and tricks, supporting each other, which is what it's all about. I never, ever want to feel, or people to feel, that I am in competition with them. There are billions and billions of us on this earth plane, and the people that want to work with us and want readings for us will find us. And that's a really important thing to say, because we are never in competition with each other. We should always be in competition with ourselves, about our growth, about our professional development, about making sure that our ability is honed, about our delivery, about how to deal with difficult subjects, sometimes difficult clients that we have. And when we can get together, and maybe down the line we can have a bit of a circle going, that I think will be beneficial for everyone. But recently I got accused of being a bully on social media by a person that I suppose calls themselves or tries to be a psychic medium. I've watched her work. I've watched her behavior. I've watched her incredibly disappointingly and working incredibly unethically. And I called her out on her behavior, and I got accused of being a bully. I am not a bully. Peer review is different to bullying. And unfortunately, she's been bullying the families of missing children, missing family members. And if they don't give her a review or say nice things about her or credit her for finding their loved one, which she has never done, but she wants the credit for it because she drew a map or whatever, then she bullies those people, and that's not the way life is. And as a spiritual person, you should never, ever, ever take to bullying people. And you should certainly have a hold on your own ability to manage your emotional outcry. That noise is the buff. I have to go for a second. Sorry about that. He does not like me paying attention to anyone else, or whether it is when I'm in a reading or recording. He will often start crying, and I've just had to run him around with a ball. We've been out for a walk. We've had 2 walks, in fact, today. And the attention whore that he is becoming a problem with my work. Don't know how to fix it. So if you're a dog trainer, get in touch with me. It's not like he doesn't have toys. It's not like he doesn't have attention. He has lots of cuddles. He has lots of walks. It's just never enough. It's like having a needy boyfriend. Who'd want one of those? So let's talk about energy and how community energy is going to make the difference over the next 18 months. I've always said, and I've made no history of the fact, that between now and the end of 2025, it is going to be a difficult time globally. We're talking about elections, we're talking about riots, we're talking about conflicts that are going to kick off. I'm not talking about WW3. We're talking about cybercrime and global warming. All of those things, climate change, all of those things are going to play a part between now and 2025. Doesn't mean there's going to be a magic wand at the end of 2025, but we have to get through some bumpy times, and it will feel as if we are in a rocket. It's going to be fast, it's going to be difficult, and my job as a psychic medium and with the clients that I work with, and now with you guys, is to get you there in one piece. Resilience is key. We cannot change what is happening around us. There is no possibility of it. We're not suddenly going to have clear cut and dried decisions. It doesn't mean that just because you get into November and the election is over that it's all going to be cut and dry. There are a lot of things going to be thrown at us. We also are in an economic state globally where people are struggling to get by. I have been there during 2008. It was horrific. And I want to be able to build your resilience. And a lot of people out there are really hanging on to the trauma. They're hanging on to the, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be part of global systemic change. This is too hard. This is too crunchy. Whatever reason you give, okay? It's not about what happens to us. People go through shit every single day. We all have trauma. Everybody has trauma. Some to a bigger extent than others. And as I've always said, I am not a psychologist. But the amount of people leaning into the negativity, leaning into the traumatic side of things, leaning into the wanting to push an agenda of their own, which is sitting in their own traumatic experience, is stopping them from moving forward. I will often get phone calls from people saying, what do I do? Why have I got a block? And it's such an easy thing to identify. I shouldn't say easy, but as a psychic medium, for me, working with your spirit guides and my spirit guides, it's such an easy thing for me to identify. I can't talk about the trauma, obviously. I can't talk to it from a psychological level. But if we look at our own self-limiting beliefs, half of that is why we are not moving forward. Half of that is why people are living in the trauma and living in the I can't do this mindset. People have difficulty at work, but they are employed. And instead of running away from that difficulty, start facing it head on. Turn it to your positivity. Turn that negativity and say, well, okay, I really hate my job, but I've got a roof over my head. My job entitles me to the lifestyle that I want. My job entitles me to the benefits that I need, whatever the reasoning. If we are constantly looking at the negative, we are going to be living in the negative. So the law of attraction, in the easy words, are energy out is energy in is energy out. The more positive we think, the more that we turn things around for ourselves, the more we turn a positive light onto a lot of things, the more positive things are going to find us and the more we are open to positive things. I've read, it's not, the law of attraction is the commercialized version, if you like. Many years ago, I read the Kybalion, and this works on the hermetic principles. And it really is a beneficial thing to read. But if you're not someone that's a big reader, download the audiobook, The Law of Attraction. In the Kybalion, it says, as above, so below, as above, so above. I've said that completely wrong. As above, so below, as below, so above. So what you put out, you get in. What you get in, you put out. Have you ever noticed that when something bad happens, say, I don't know, you're driving down the freeway and you suddenly get a flat tire, and you have to take the time out and it holds you up and you're going to be late and you have to fix that flat tire, and then you've got to get the spare fixed or the tire fixed, replaced, whatever, and then you've got to get that back on your car, and it starts you into a negative thought pattern. What will follow is 3 or 4 different negative events. You'll spill your coffee over your clothes or your nice new shirt. You'll fall over. It is a pattern that we fall into. What we want to do, what I am trying to teach you, is how to break that pattern. It's not easy. It does take a lot of mental energy. But I'm telling you now, it changed my life. It has changed many, many of my clients' lives. It has changed the way that people address things. When they start believing in themselves and they raise their vibration, That's when the positive things start showing up. And you actually are in the mindset to see the positive things when they are put in front of you. When you are in a negative headspace, you don't always see the positive things put in front of you. When we apply the principle of positive energy, energy sits at a higher level. So you can't feel it, you can't taste it, you can't touch it, but it does work. And what I'm trying to explain to people is, even if you think that you cannot do anything to change the bad things in the world, what you can do is raise the positive energy. One person raising their energy makes a difference. 2 people raising your energy and vibration makes a difference. 10 people makes a difference. 30 people, thousands of people. But the negative energy and mindset that people get into is incredibly poor. And even around, and I'm not going to go into specifics now, but I will talk about how community energy has to make a difference over the next 18 months. And the start of it I saw on social media when we were talking about the Blockout 2024. I've got a few issues with the Blockout 2024 where I feel like the energy could be used in a more positive way. Rather than saying, I don't like that person, I'm going to block them, because that's got negative connotations to it. Just remove your energy from them and put it into something that's more positive. Everything that's positive is going to make a difference to how you are going to manage the next 18 months. This is why when people get into a spiral of social media and they notice the negative comments, and then they see another negative comment, and then they see another negative comment, and then they see another negative comment. I really think that if somebody makes a negative comment on social media, I wish there was a magic wand that blocked them from social media for 24 hours so they could have a timeout to think about what they've done. The Blockout 2024 is the first thing that I've seen, which is collective energy trying to work together. It can be done differently. It can be done with a more positive light. It could be used to start promoting fundraisers for certain families that they're trying to get out of Gaza. It could be used to highlight people that are, and I actually have seen one creator do this, talking about different creators that are highlighting and working in that field. But do your research, because somebody was blocking Taylor Swift. And I'm like, really? Taylor Swift ran and took part in a fundraiser for Gaza in December when everyone else was sitting on their thumbs. Think about it. Do a bit of research. By all means, remove your energy from those that don't deserve it, but put the energy into something more positive and more fulfilling for you, by simply raising your energy to a more positive mindset. And one of the best things that I found for that is gratitude. 20 odd years ago, when I was going through a major life change in my life, and I felt that I had nothing to be grateful for. Of course I did. I had 2 beautiful sons. They were exhausting, but I had 2 beautiful sons. And I was struggling through a lot of things, times, emotions, energy, lack of energy, etc. And I read a book called The 4 Agreements, which I recommend to a lot of people that are struggling with their negative mindset. And that negative mindset is something that we all need to get out of. And that changed my life, because I was able to look at myself and realize that gratitude is one of the most important things that I could ever learn. Now, I started very basic. I don't think we need to overcomplicate it. The gratitude journal, the gratitude jar, the writing it down, holding it in the air, turning it around 5 times and spending an hour doing gratitude every day is ridiculous. Nobody has time for that. And if you're going to set yourself up with a pattern or a routine to do something, setting yourself up to put an hour every day into that routine or whatever is going to set yourself up for failure. I stood in the shower every day and I named 3 things I was grateful for. And gradually those 3 things grew. I was grateful that I had food. I was grateful I had a roof over my head. I was grateful for my children eventually when I realized that they weren't just exhausting me. I was grateful for the love that I had in my life. All the basic things actually allow us to turn our mind outwards and see the positivity rather than living in a vacuum of misery. Now, obviously, I am not talking about people that suffer from depression, mental health. Although these tactics will help, they are not going to solve everything for you. The way that I look at it is, and it's also stated this way in the Kybalion, is every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. And really, in the reality of that, nothing does escape the universe. The universe hears absolutely everything. So if you are being happy, chappy, chirpy, sing kumbaya Annie with all your mates and fundraising and in the front of everything being amazing, and in the background you're doing something illegal, illicit, miserable, causing harm to people, you're going to be seen. You are going to be seen by the universe. And eventually, that's how karma plays out. Eventually, the negativity will find you. But don't give up on the positivity if you are really wanting to change your life. I am running a course on this in, when am I running a course? In June. It's a 45-minute event on the law of attraction, which is going to go into it in a lot more detail, with a lot more examples, with a lot more that you will find helpful. This is just a very high-end, high-level explanation of it, and how I would like to see the collective energy do something collectively positive and that has a positive connotation to it, rather than taking an angry stance on something. It's very sad at the moment, where I think everyone turned on Miss Rachel. Miss Rachel's the most positive person in the world. How miserable and horrible and evil do you have to be to turn on Miss Rachel? She was talking about the children of the universe, the children of the world. Just because she wasn't necessarily talking about Gaza doesn't make her a bad person. She loves children, all children. One of the biggest things that I realized, especially going on social media, is I just simply remove myself, or remove the people who bring negative energy. You've all seen me called the odd person out. I don't do that nearly as much as I used to. But the people that will come on, and I don't care about people being skeptical and questioning what I do. That is 100% healthy. Do it with respect and you're fine to stay. But if you want to come onto my page and actually be disrespectful about myself or someone else's comment or about a topic that I've brought up, you're not my people. As simple as that. You are not my people, so you will be removed. Years ago, and I've told this story a lot, that I got really hijacked by a group of people that took part in a forum that was in, I don't know where the forum originates from, but there was a lot of negative reviews, not so much on me. Well, there was actually negative reviews about me, because people would go on and say something positive, and then people would go, oh, you must be Matilda, because no one could have a mindset. But because I didn't sort of jump into you give them dates on when their boyfriend was coming back, they were hanging on to really negative mindsets and really limiting self-beliefs. And part of when I work with people's guides is talking about that and helping people to manifest and to bring things in. And I got a lot of negative reviews about that, because I wasn't one of the cookie cutter psychics that are on the telephone lines charging $25 an hour $25 a minute, sorry, and telling them that their boyfriend's coming back next Tuesday. And when next Tuesday came around, their boyfriend wasn't back. They would call back again and spend another $250, $500 trying to get a reading. And hear that it's the next Tuesday. I don't buy into that philosophy of being a medium. Plus, I'm very honest. Anyway, they wrote a load of reviews about me, and I at the time I started to be quite hurt, and I'm like, I'm a really good medium. Why are these people being so horrible? And I sat back and I went, they're not my people. They're really not the people that want to listen to what their guides have to say. They want all the answers. And until we're ready to learn, people are going to just switch off. Life is all about learning lessons. Now, I'm not talking about those ridiculous ideals that we have to learn lessons from past lives, because I don't believe in that. We're here to learn that we are powerful, that we are empowered, that we can change our lives by our thought pattern, by the energy that we give out. Energy is everything. I've said it time and time again, which is why the law of attraction resonates with so many people. And if you really put the work into the law of attraction, you will find how much your life will change. If you are interested in learning more about the law of attraction, on the 22nd of June, Australian time, I do have it's very cheap. It's $40 for a 45-minute session on the law of attraction. It's a group event. We will be learning how to manifest. We'll be learning on the pointers of changing our mindset, as well as doing a meditation right at the end to help us clear our minds. So pop along to my website. The link will also be in the show notes. So let's talk about how you can start changing the collective energy. It is a little piece at a time. Remembering that you cannot alter other people's behavior. The old adage, let other people do what they need to do. Don't take it personally. If somebody wants to walk away from you as a friend, let them. If somebody wants to criticize you, let them. Raising your vibration to a point where you can give out positive energy in a way that makes it obvious that you're not taking on other people's energy is a start. Realizing how much of your life you spend doing things to please other people. Now, we're not just talking about family, kids, etc. I'm talking about comparing yourself to other people, wanting to be part of a group that may not actually be good for you. Putting your energy into the positive things in your life and having gratitude is something that's going to work towards raising the collective energy. Now, I'm not a big New Age fan, 5D, transcendence, whatever, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't interest me. No one is going to be punished. No one is going to be left behind. I'm talking about the general consciousness and raising it piece by piece, which is person by person. Looking at the positive in everything. Look, bad things happen. Shit happens to lots of people. And it's horrible. It's disturbing. Trauma will follow us through our lives if we don't start looking after ourselves. What I'm trying to do is help people stop identifying with their trauma. We're honouring it. We understand it happened. But traumatic things often happen to people because of other people. And I really want people to start leaning away from the trauma and stop identifying with it so that they can heal and have a positive rest of their life, a positive experience. I experienced horrific trauma as a child, and it took me a long time to work out that there was no white charger coming to save me, that I had to work through it myself. And once I realized that and I was empowered, it changed my frigging life. And I want other people to experience that. So piece by piece, we're going to raise the collective energy. And remember, let other people behave badly. If someone treats you badly, try not to work out why. Try not to accept that you are the problem, but just let them get on and remove your energy from them. Too many people get tied up in the ideal that they need to find out why someone did something, or they behaved in this way and they've got to give me answers, or I need closure. Silence is your closure. The way that someone else treats you is your closure. If someone doesn't respect you and what you bring to the table, remove what you have on the table away from them. Because by buying into their narrative or continually trying to get their attention or trying to want the toxicity that is around them. So a lot of people that will cut off contact or have or treat you badly, let's say, have a toxicity around them. You want to remove yourself from that, because as long as your energy is around that, you're absorbing it. So I hope that helps. But remember, I have the Law of Attraction course if you are interested, or download the book on Spotify. If you are a member of Spotify, books are free now. It's amazing. The audiobooks, download them, stick it on whilst you go for a walk. It'll help. It really will. I know you want the juicy details of the predictions and events that I see coming in over the next couple of weeks. We're going to talk about Iran. As many of you know, I did see and did predict that helicopter accident that has happened. I think there's going to be some fallout from that regarding some terrorism that will happen globally. So be aware of that. It may take a week or two to kick off, but I think that what I've been shown, I feel like I've been shown that it was internal, not external. But I still think there's going to be some outcry because of it. I have been shown increase of earthquakes, and I do also want to go to the Iran area and also the Indian area. I have been shown flooding in the US, East Coast, and I also feel that we may be in for a very early hurricane. Now, I don't know what hurricane timing is. I know somebody told me last year, but I don't know what hurricane timing is. But I feel by the end of June, there will be one that will hit the Florida area. So be aware of that if you are in Florida. And we're going to hear news. I think the Australia and the US are going to have a conversation regarding Julian Assange. That is going to be in the headlines about granting him either immunity or removing charges, something along those lines. Expect the unexpected when it comes to weather. I'm seeing snow even in this time of year. I know here in Australia we're about to get snow because ski season starts. Yes, for those of you that don't know, we actually have a skiing season here in Australia. But I feel like there is going to be snow in places across the US and some of Europe that's going to be hit by strange snowfall. Another solar storm is going to hit in June. Be aware of that. And I'm also being shown internet outages, massive internet outages. I have a feeling there's going to be something going to be developing in the Red Sea that may be the cause of that, or some sort of sabotage to the internet. So everyone take care out there. and be aware. Oh, yes, and I wanted to talk about, I am going to make a video on this as well. Trump, very likely that he's going to be hit with new charges regarding tax, financial charges, something that's really going to make him feel very, very shaky. He's going to be found guilty in New York. I think they're going to try for a mistrial, or they're going to appeal. I've always said that he will appeal. That guy is going to be tied up in legal battles for the rest of his natural life. And no, for those of you that listen to me for comfort, no, he's not going to be the president of the United States again. He may get to be the president of his blackjack group in the assisted living, but not president of the United States. Okay, that's about it from me. I'm just going to end today. I'm going to give you a couple of feedbacks that I received. I love getting messages that are feedback. There's always a place to do. If you have a reading with me, you'll always get asked to do a review of me, but it's usually through my website or through Google, purely because, it's a little bit easier for me to manage. But I'm going to give you a couple of ones that I have been given, which is really nice. One of them in particular, she messaged me and she said, I had a reading with you over a year ago, and I talked about moving to Europe. I called you because I was in the middle of a breakup, and you didn't talk about that. You told me to move on, which I did. And I told you that I wanted to move to Europe. In particular, I wanted to move to Italy. And during the reading, you said to me, that's strange. I see you speaking French. Are you going to France? And my response was, no, I have no plans to go to France at all. Well, 8 months after the reading, I got offered a job in France, and I'm now living happily in Paris and learning French. Thank you so much for my reading. And this one I like as well. It's from someone called Miss T. Miss T says, I have had so many readings over my life, and Matilda's is the first one where I actually felt seen. She called me out on so much of my own behaviour, and that made me realise I was self-sabotaging myself for years by talking myself out of things. I realised that during the reading that Matilda speaking to my guides just opened up so much possibility for me, and that I'd been handing my power over to other people. You can hide from your therapist, but you cannot hide from Matilda. That one I really liked. So many people come to me and say, I've been doing this work for 6 years with my therapist and they've never, ever gotten to the crux of it, which is lovely. And I'm not a psychologist. I don't claim to be a psychologist. Psychology therapy is really important for everyone. I think that it's something that's really healthy to give you another perspective, but your guides are with you 24/7. They have information on you, conversations, things you're thinking, your hidden depths, what goes on behind the scenes, so to speak. And you don't always share that with your therapist. And if I can call you out in the first 10 minutes of a reading and put you on the pathway that you need, that means that my job is done. Mediumship readings are very different because we work with your lost loved ones that step forward, and that brings you peace and brings you peace of mind. But when you're having a psychic reading with me, expect your guides to spill the tea in order to move you onto the right pathway, because that is really, really important. I also want to say, and this is, I don't know whether I said this yet, but sometimes people aren't ready to hear things. And the saying that the lesson that you teach is only as good as the ears that are willing to hear them. Some people don't want to hear things. They just want the answers. But once you realize how empowered you can be, how much power you wield in your life through your energy, through your mindset, through your positivity, through your own ability to love yourself, you will be amazed. So keep going, keep working at it, and remember that nobody's perfect, because I'm certainly not perfect, but we are all a work in process, and we've all got to put the work in order to reap the rewards. Just remember, I am now moving my podcast. This should be released on a Wednesday, Australian time. So my podcast is released on a Wednesday. The Sassy Seers podcast is released on a Friday, US. So we're spreading the love a little bit. Watch out for the Sassy Seers podcast. Check out my show notes for the group reading that I've got coming up, the 10-person reading. There's availability for that in June. And there is also the Law of Attraction workshop that I am doing in June. Just a heads up that I will not be doing readings in August. I've got to have spinal surgery, so I will be signing off for August this year. So if you haven't booked your July reading, I think you might be out of luck because it's full. But I will be releasing September at some point. Lots of love, everyone. Thank you for joining me. And next week, I have an exciting special guest. And you will never, ever in a million years guess who it is. Catch you next week. Lots of love.